have been feeling after the session one that you have been quite enlightened and, quite, into a lot. So, we still have two very enthralling speakers for you. And it gives me immense pleasure personally that I get the delightful task of introducing them to you all. So, in front of you on your screens, you can see our next speaker. So, first, let me introduce him to all of you. He is a scholar who hails from a small, beautiful state that nests in the lap of the Himalayan ranges, but his literary aura gleams across the globe. He's the retired head of the Department of English, HNBGU. He's the recipient of 19 honors and awards that include Sangeeth Natak Academy Senior Fellowship, Parvatyan Honor, Devbhoomi Journalists Award, and Chandra Singh Rahi Award. He also serves in significant national and international boards and committees. He is the brand ambassador of Heidelberg University, Germany, member of ICCR Advisory Committee, New Delhi, and National Folk Support Center, Chennai. His intensive research and findings in the areas of folk traditions, ritual heritages, and national and international theatre trends have contributed to him being the most sought after person by researchers and documentary filmmakers. His persistent research on the endangered Raman theatre of Uttarakhand has contributed to it being declared as World Heritage by UNESCO in 2009. He was the cultural consultant for Goran Pascal's film Devbhoomi. He has directed, scripted, and filmed 4 documentaries and has been writer-director of 50 plays. His numerous publications include The Ballad of Nanda Devi, The Romantic Poets, Folk Arts and Artists of Garhwal, and The Drum, the Drummer, and the Drumming. He is a theatre performer working on and experimenting upon the arts and culture of Uttarakhand region for the last 30 years. And it gives me immense pleasure to invite Professor D.R. Purohit, my PhD supervisor and my guru, to begin his talk.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Purohit, once again. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Such a long
Yeah. Yes, Aarti ji, you are looking very young today.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Sweta. Half of my biodata you have read out seems to be fabricated. I'm not that much big. But anyhow, thank you for showing the gesture. When we talk of the contemporary Indian theatre, in fact, we are talking of the total scenario of drama and theatre in India. So when we talk of theatre itself, it is a talk, it is a discussion on the relevance of theatre for the students of literature, English literature, Sanskrit literature, Hindi literature, or Marathi literature. So it is theatre experience for any student of literature must be a must in this country or anywhere else. I sometimes wonder that many of our teachers, professors of drama have in fact never seen even a single drama, even a single theatre performance in their life. And that makes a misery of it. Everybody has converted drama pieces in our syllabus, in our courses, into the pieces of fiction or into the pieces of poetry, and not as such the pieces of drama. We have to study drama with that viewpoint of theatre, otherwise we don't understand drama, and therefore probably you have invited me to speak on the contemporary Indian theatre, which has a great relevance to the teaching and learning of literature in this country. When we talk of the contemporary Indian theatre, we also assume that we have another kind. We have a historical theatre in this country. We had the folk theatre traditions. We had the vernacular theatre traditions. We had the great Sanskrit drama tradition. And then we come back to the beginning of the modern theatre. Beginning of the history of modern theatre in India. We go back to 1795 in Calcutta, when Russian director Lev Dev staged 2 plays in Calcutta. These were the first modern plays in Calcutta. Love is the best medicine, and another play was The Disguised. In 1843, Bombay's Kirloskar Company staged Vishnu Das Bhave's play Sita Swayambar. On the 3rd April 1868, Sita Sitala Prasad Tripathi in Banaras staged Janaki Mangal in the Royal Theatre of Hall of Banaras with the help of a local theatre company. When Sita Janaki Mangal was being staged, it was a coincidence that Bharatendra Harishchandra, the famous uh, grammarian, historian, and drama writer, he was there in Banaras, and their actor playing Lakshman had fallen ill. So Bharatendra Harishchandra, who himself was an actor, offered to act as Lakshman. He prepared, he rehearsed the whole day, and in the evening and acted as Lakshman in Janaki Mangal. These are the anecdotes. Yes, it was Janaki Mangal was the first prose theatre of India. So when we talk of the modern theatre anywhere in Europe and anywhere else, we talk of the Industrial Revolution, which gave birth to the modern theatre. And when the modern theatre began, then man was brought to the center of the universe. This was one significant feature of the modern theatre. In India, when we talk of the precursors of modern theatre, we cite the name of Bharatendra Harishchandra, who had written himself, who had staged, who had documented many other plays out, and who had promoted and patronized plays outside Banaras. And after Bharatendra Harishchandra, we remember Jayasankar Prasad, the great Hindi writer of plays, Rabindranath Tagore. We remember Sisir Kumar Bhaduri, Girish Ghosh, and we also remember who were the precursors of modern Indian theatre. Ranchhod Mal, Nanalla Kavi of Gujarat, Peeresh Lingam Untalulu, who wrote Kanya Shulkam, Gurujada Appa Rao, they were the Telugu, and Ballari Raghavachari, Telugu dramatists. We remember Sant Kavi Vardachari, Kailasam, they were the Kannada dramatists. We remember Lakshmi Nath, Bez Barua of Assam. We remember Kerala Verma, Thampuran, C.V. Raman, and Sri Khandan Nayyar Pillai of Malayalam. We remember Rama Shankar Rai and Kali Charan Patnaik of Odia literature. And we remember Subramaniam Bhartihar and Sri Sambandh Mudalia of Tamil Nadu. They were the precursors of modern Indian theatre. The modern Indian theatre, which originated directly from the Parsi theatre. If any one of you have ever heard of the Parsi theatre was established, was promoted, established, and created in Bombay by the Parsi entrepreneurs, Parsi businessmen, because they were the patrons, they were the actors, they were the directors in that theatre. It was given in the nomenclature, it was christened as Parsi theatre. So Parsi theatre was the first professional theatre of this country, and in this professional theatre, fees were charged. It was for the first time that Indian audience was taught to pay fees for going to the theatre, and Parsi theatre flourished from 1850 to 1950. It was the most renowned writers of Parsi theatre was Aga, Hasr Kashmiri, Nayan Das, and even Kathavachak Radhe Shyam. They wrote plays in Hindustani language. In fact, the most of the plays were written in Urdu script, and with the heavy Parsi loaded language that was called later on known as Hindustani language. These plays were written in Hindustani, and some of them were also written in Hindi, and yet others were written in the local languages. This Parsi theatre flourished in India up to 1950, from 1850 to 1950. The Parsi theatre was the first professional and paid theatre which emerged in competition with the theatre companies of England. In 1942, a new genre of theatre was born with the creation of IPTA, Indian People's Theatre Association, by a group of Prithviraj Kapoor, Balraj Sahni, and Utpal Dutt. The theatre movement started basically against the excesses of British Raj, but in the independent India challenged the corruption and inefficiency of the Indian governments themselves. Sabdar Hasmi was one of the most vocal exponents of IPTA and was unfortunately assassinated at Muzaffarnagar while protesting against the hooliganism of a local political leader. After 1947, the part of independence was reflected in the formation of theatre companies and groups. Sri Ram Center for Performing Arts was established by Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, Nandita Kripalani, and Sheila Bharatram in 1940. In 1949, Little Theatre Group LTZ came into existence and staged both the Hindi adaptations of English plays and Hindi plays as well. The famous playwright of the time, Upendranath Ashk, Ram Kumar Burma, Hare Krishna Premi, and Jagdish Chandra Mathur started finding a space in Delhi theatre. Jagdish Chandra Mathur's famous play, Konark, 1950, became the first contemporary play of Hindi work. In 1951, Sheila Bhatia and Balwant Gargi came together and formed Delhi Arts Theatre. The milestone in the journey of the modern theatre was the formation of Sangeeth Natak Academy in 1953. The Academy encouraged and boosted the music, dance, and theatre of the New World and also coordinated and patronized such programs. It was because of this academy that Ratan Thiem, the famous Manipuri theatre director, emerged and created the new world for Manipuri theatre itself, which at the moment is considered to be one of the richest theatre and the most artistic theatre of India. And then this Sangeet Natak Academy sponsored the play productions of Kovala Narayana Pannikar, who directed and wrote plays in Sanskrit and in the local dialect too. It also held a theatre festival in Delhi in 1954 with the production of Hum Hindustani, Kutte Ki Maut, Wadi Ki Goonj, and Amrpali. Even the availability of theatre at that time in Delhi was miserable and scarce. There were just 3 theatre houses available in Delhi: Sapru House, YMCA, and Maulankar Hall. In 1954, Kudashia Jadi and Habib Tanveer founded Hindustani theatre and produced plays like Mitti Ki Gaudi and Mudra Rakshas. In 1959, Habib Tanveer fell apart and established his own theatre group called Naya Theatre. More significant theatre groups like the Three Arts Club, Indraprastha, and Yatrik also came into existence. The watershed in the history of Indian theatre was the establishment of the National School of Drama in 1959. I think when we read the history of theatre, we must understand this landmark institute, National School of Drama, which was created in 1959, and the whole scenario of theatre changed after that. However, the actual momentum by NSD, National School of Drama, was picked up with the appointment of Ibrahim Al-Qazi as its director in 1962. Al-Qazi became the meeting point for all the famous playwrights of the time: Mohan Rakesh, Jagdish Chandra Mathur, and Dharambir Bharti. Al-Qazi was a painter by temperament and a theatre actor by training. He was the product. He was a graduate of Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, London. His monumental productions were Andayug in the Firoz Shah Kotla Fort. Look at the creativity and boldness of the director. He staged Andayug right in the open at Firoz Shah Kotla Fort, Dhanbir Bharti's Andayug. And he staged Tughlaq in the old fort, Delhi. These monumental, still in the history of theatre productions. No other production can match these two productions of Andayug and Tughlaq in the open space, in the old fort and in the Firoz Shah Kotla fort. He inspired all the renowned theatre performers like M.K. Raina, Bansi Kaul, Amal Allana, Usha Ganguly, K.N. Panikar, B.V. Karant, Vijaya Mehta, Shanta Gandhi, Prasanna Ratanthiyam, Fritz Benevitz, Richard Sechner to join the NSD and work in collaboration with him. It was during his tenure that Richard Sechner, the famous exponent of the environmental theatre, came to India and taught the students studying in the National School of Drama, Delhi. The movement continued, and in 1967, Noam Shivpuri established a new group called Deshantar. In the same year, Rajendranath, another Radha product, formed another theatre group called Abhiyan and produced Ek Shun Baji Rao, Pagla Ghoda, Curfew, and Hanus. In 1969, the first European director, Fritz Benevitz, came to India in the following years directed Caucasian Chalk Circle, John Martin, John Russell Brown, Cherry Orchard, and many other plays. In the meantime, the famous playwrights Mudra Rakshas, Mani Madhukar, Surendra Verma, Sarveshwar Dayal Saxena, Shankar Shes, Nand Kishore Acharya, Nag Bodas, Rameshwar Prem, Swadesh Deepak, Asghar Bajahat also came upon the literary scene. There was an emergence of dozens of theatre directors like Brijmohan Shah, Mohan Maharshi, Bhanu Bharati, Ranjit Kapoor, Satish Anand, Dinesh Thakur, Girija Rastogi, Alakhanandan, Ram Gopal Bajaj. In 1968, Sahitya Academy was established and it gave birth to so many movements. It encouraged the literary activities in the country. Now, let me talk of the regional theatre, which is also the national theatre. You cannot define, in fact, the national theatre reflections of independent India in Hindi theatre or in English theatre. We have so many theatre genres, theatre movements going parallelly, simultaneous. On the one hand, we have the over dominating Hindi play theatre, Hindi drama theatre, and Marathi theatre, equally dominating Marathi theatre, but at parallel with it are the English is going the English theatre, which is part of the you say dramatic associations in different universities and colleges. So you very proudly quote English playwright like Manjula Padmanabhan, whose famous play Bitter Harvest has received global accolades. You remember Mahesh Dattani, born in 1958, and his plays Where There Is a Will, Dance Like a Man, and the bravely fought the Queen, Tara, 30 days has September, and the final solution. We also have other playwrights. Royston Abell, he is the founder the of the Indian Shakespearean Company, founder of Indian Shakespearean Company, and has been running and producing many Shakespearean plays. We have Sanjana Kapoor, another playwright and director, Sasi Kapoor's daughter. We have Anahita Oberoi, who is the daughter of Vijaya Mehta. She has been running English theatre world over and has also acted in Glass Menagerie, etc. She is, and we have Chetan Datar. He has written a famous play, Gandhi and Ambedkar. We have Rajat Kapoor, who has formed a theatre group called Chingari, and we have Royal Padam Sri and Pearl Padam Sri, the daughters of Alec Padam Sri. They are also running the children's theatre, and so this is the English theatre, which is going parallel to the vernacular theatre, to the Hindi theatre. And then we come back to the famous theatre directors, because history of contemporary Indian theater is the history of the theater directors and writers. We have such great writers like Vijay Tendulkar, whose plays, whose every play in itself is a classic. Ghasiram Kotwal being one of it, and Sakharam Binder, Giddhade, Shantata, Kod Chalu Ahe, etc., etc. Then we have Girish Karnad, who is established, who was the first man to experiment upon the folk idiom in his plays. And this folk idiom has brought him great laurels and accolades from all over the world. Is his play Hayavadan is a mythical interpretation of the Indian myth of that name, and also of Thomas Mann's. Thomas Mann's, forgetting the name of his mythical character. And then he has written Hayavadana, he has written Tughlaq. Tughlaq has been one of the most challenging plays which has been accepted by so many theater directors, one of them being Abraham Al-Qazi, as I told you. He produced Hayavadan and showed it in the old fort of Delhi. Then he has also written a Nagamandala, and besides that, he has written 50 other plays. Girish Karnad has been a great actor, director, and he is the harbinger of the Indian Renaissance in theatre. When we talk of reflections of independence in Indian theatre, we are talking of the use of Indian idioms in Indian theatre. We are talking of the use of myths and stories and anecdotes of Indian history in Indian theatre. We are talking of the pride of India in Indian theatre. And Indian theatre is a entirely different kind of theatre. It doesn't imitate either the Shakespearean theatre now, or the French theatre, or the Broadway theatre, or any other theatre. It is not only the plays which are being produced, which have an absolute quantity and absolute idiom of Indian theatre. And such theatres are like Bakri by Sarveshwar Dayal, Ras Gandharv by Mani Madhukar, Jog Kumaraswamy by Shekhar Kambar, and Rakt Kalyan and Nagmandal and Agni or Barkha again by Karnad. In 1990s, Badal Sarkar, who was a renowned director, and his famous plays, Baki Itihas, Pagla Ghoda, Evam Indrajit, they were the great theater hits. But then he departed from this kind of theater. He was influenced by Grotowski. He himself visited Grotowski's Polish theater, and he thought of creating a new kind of theater on the pattern of Grotowski's poor theater. And he gave it a name. Badal Sarkar gave it a name, and he called it third theater. The theater which doesn't use any property, doesn't use any costume, doesn't use any set, because Badal Sarkar, like Grotowski, believed that too much of costume, too much of set, too much of light and music being used in theater has made it inaccessible and difficult to be produced by the common man. Therefore, he started his third theater. He was also accompanied by a man called Vijay Soni to this Grotowski's Polish theater. And Vijay Soni started a new kind of theater that is called the psychophysical theater. And he has produced, based on this idiom and style of psychophysical theater, he has produced a great solo play, which is based on Muktibodh's poem Andhere Mein. And the same drama solo performance was repeated by Shashank Boguna in the following years. The other forms of theater growing up in this country, and that is called the theater of the short stories. And the exponent of theater of the short stories is Devendra Raj Ankur, a man once time director of the National School of Drama also. In the story theater of the story, this is strange, interesting technique used in the story theater. There is an actor who stands up, he reads out the story, and he enacts the pieces out of the story, the Bardic theater of this country. You must have seen some pieces of the Bardic theater in this country in Pijan Bhai's Kapali and Vedamati Pandwani. That is the Bardic theater. This is exactly like that. On that pattern, Devendra Zankur asks his actors to read the story and act out